put in here was this top shelf, and why I put the boards this way instead of that way, I don't know. I thought maybe I was gaining a little extra space, but I snug it up underneath the roof, and that turned out to be less storage than I had hoped. So I needed 2 more shelves, so I put these other 2 in, and not having any idea where they might go, I basically put them above and below the window. It was kind of a fortunate accident that the lower shelf still accommodated the lawnmower underneath it. So that kind of worked out okay. I got 3 shelves, and I'm not missing any floor space because I put the shelf too low. And that lets me put a lot of junk in there. The second thing I thought I needed was a workbench, because I thought I would do a lot of gardening stuff in here, but as it turns out, here in Florida you really don't do that much in the shed, because there's kind of no reason to. There's no reason to protect seedlings from the weather and yada yada yada. But I still wanted to do that, and I got myself one of those blew up boards from the big box store and cut it to fit here between the windows. And then I wanted to, you know, keep floor space clear, so instead of having legs that went up and down, I put them on an angle and bracketed them and screwed it all together. Then after that, I thought I needed a shelf, so I stuck in another shelf here and ran the boards lengthways. And it only goes as far as, you know, the 2 windows, so that seems sufficient. And so far all it does is stack up boxes that radio junk came in. But then that's the point of a shed, stacking up junk that kind of doesn't belong in the garage, because if it did, you couldn't walk through the garage. Then I wanted to do a shelf up here. It was originally going to be for seed starting, but that never worked out particularly well, so it's just another shelf. But it's a floating shelf that I put up in here. After I got my 3 end shelves done, the next thing I figured I needed was to bring my long-handled tool rack out of the garage and fix it up. So I had to wash it off and then spray some stain on it, let it dry, and install it into the shed. That got me all these tools out of my way from the garage. But I ran into a problem. I originally put it on the side of the shed, and when you go to lift up the tools, it hits the ceiling. So I had to move it over to the end of the shed where it is now to make it work, because at the end of the shed my peak is actually almost 10 feet. So I don't run into those kind of problems. So once I moved it over here, it never moved again. And that was the end of that particular phase of the project. Leftover hooks from the garage. Put big holes in my plastered walls in the garage, so I brought them out here to hang extension cords and other such stuff, and hang up garden tools and all that jazz. And that has worked out pretty well. But at this point, I'm starting to get my shed kind of full, and as I look around, I think, no wonder I couldn't work in the garage. I have a shed full of stuff that used to be in the garage. So the shed serves its purpose. Pretty happy with it. Couldn't be more useful to me. The shed worked out pretty good. I mean, I only spent about 11, 12 months building it, and then another 6 months messing around with shelving a little bit at a time, and as I thought of it. And then, you know, months later I get around to actually doing the little narration and explaining it. So the shed's about 1.5 years old at this point, and other than screwing up a little bit when I build it, it works out pretty good. Doors work, windows are nice. In fact, the windows are 3/8 Lexan, which is got out of an engineering company's dumpster. They were throwing it away. So some of these pieces are new and some of it's recycled, and it works out pretty good. But I'm happy with my shed. And that's the end of the story.